Your ex has to change in order for them to want you back. And in order for them to change, certain things have to happen. I'm going to explain 3 of them and what you can even do to kind of speed those things along. The first thing that has to happen is observation. Your ex has to see that you won't fix their mess. Basically, that they can't just do this and break up with you and expect you to do all the work of getting you two back together. It's unattractive. It will prevent them from actually thinking they could lose you. And it will likely cause other breakups in the future if you two get back together. So it's very important that you don't try to fix what they broke. That you let them know, let them feel that this is on them, that there are consequences to their actions, that you believe in the real world where there are consequences, and that you're not going to bail them out. The next observation is that your ex has to see that you can stay away, that you have the ability, that you have the inner strength, and that you have the quality of life that you can stay away from them, and that you aren't stalking and contacting and begging and pleading and showing up and just constantly there. Your ex actually has to see you disappear. It's like breaking up with them instead for a change. Instead of just your ex breaking up with you, it's you breaking up with them right back. And the last observation is that your ex has to realize that they could lose you. That's very important. And people will often say, well, why would they care since they broke up with me? I get the question, but the answer is when they break up with you, they're not losing you. Your ex is in control of the situation. They're deciding for the two of you. They're saying, I am choosing to eliminate you from my life. I'm choosing to dissolve this relationship. And you have no say. That's what they're doing. And so they feel that they could not lose you because they are in control. And so if they decide at some point to change the terms of the relationship again and say, there, now we're back together, ta-da, then that is where they have this sense of control. In a lot of ways, it's like a dictator who rules a government. You have no say. The dictator can take your money, can take your land, can lock you down in a home. There's nothing you can say about it because you have no military backing you. Don't let your ex become your dictator. Show them that they could lose you, that this could be a terrible mistake that they regret later. And if you keep trying to bail them out of it, if you keep giving them chances and reaching out to see how they feel and doing little nice things for them or saying nice things or being considerate and reaching out on holidays or when things happen, then all you're showing them is that they have a free pass. They have a total hall pass, as we say in America, in this situation. And that anytime they want, they could snap their fingers and get you back. That will wreak havoc on your efforts to get them back. Because if they think they can get you back any second, there's no pressure on it, and they can keep taking steps away from you, even toward other people, without fear of consequence, and that will simply ruin your chances. So you must show them that they could lose you, that you could get away, and there would be nothing they could do about it. And how you do that is using the no contact rule, staying away, letting them feel and experience and go through that silence from you where nothing is happening. It is the ultimate flex. Number 2 is similar, but it takes a time stamp. In other words, a certain amount of time has to pass before this can happen. And that's where they have the pain of regret. It takes time to where they can look at their phone and they can see it's been this long since you've contacted them. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. They need to see those important marks and measurements of time because that's the power of your statement. Your statement is, I will not fix what you broke. I can stay away. You could lose me. You could have made a terrible mistake. And that takes time for them to realize. It usually doesn't happen in a day or two or a week or two. It takes longer than that. Usually it takes a couple of months or more. The good news is if you can stay away and you can do that for a couple of months, then the future can be very bright because they know that if they break up with you, you are not coming to bail them out. You're not coming to save them from their mistake. So they are less likely to do it again because they realize the consequences are there. If they think it's consequence free and that you will do whatever to get them back and you'll keep doing it, then not only will they get far enough away from you that they don't even want it back at all or even consider it, but they will just figure that they can break up with you again if they ever get upset at you, or you're not playing ball like they want you to, you're not kissing up or worshiping them enough, or whatever it is. They will just say, well, I can dump them and watch them come crawling back to me and begging, which is a big time ego stroke. It raises them on the attraction totem pole and it lowers your attractiveness. So big no-nos. Bad. You are better than that. Before I get to number 3, take a quick second and get some information on my emergency breakup kit. It's an online course to help you get your ex back. The link is in the description below, or you can go to myexbackcoach.com. Number 3 is one where a lot of times other coaches will set up a straw man to pretend they are arguing with me and that they won because they beat the straw man that they created. And it's ridiculous. It's like they can't understand me because I'm speaking hieroglyphs or something. But number 3 is your ex must see you as reasonable. What do I mean by that? Well, for starters, don't respond in anger. Don't respond with something cold. And don't ignore them. Because if they feel that they will get no traction with you and that it's just a hopeless case, since they've already broken up with you and there's already been some space because you've been silent like you're supposed to, then they will just assume it's over and they will try to move on. Do you really want them to have to try to move on? Do you want them to have motivation to move on or to think that there's no point in reaching out to you? It doesn't take a high IQ to realize your chances are much lower when they feel like they cannot reach out to you or that you're unreasonable, that you're too angry to talk about it and to consider taking them back, or that you are ignoring them. And so not only do they wonder if you got the message at all and they feel silly, they feel rejected, but they begin to think that there is no point. Do you really think that that's a good situation to be in? And yet all these other so-called coaches will tell you to ignore them because it sounds so dang cool. It sounds so strong to just ignore them when they reach out. And they'll even say that you should ignore them until they just serve it on a platter to you and say, I've realized I've made such a terrible mistake. Will you please take me back? That's not going to be the first message. Sorry to do this, but I have to appeal to 22 years, which I can say as of this month, 22 years that I have been a relationship coach. I have watched people take advice from other people who claim they know what they're talking about in terms of ignoring this person when they reach out to you. Maybe it's been a month, 2 months, and they reach out and you're just supposed to ignore them. That's what they tell you. I have watched it. And a lot of times someone would book a coaching session with me and tell me I did what this coach said. Now it's been 4 months. Never heard anything else. What do I do now? Well, they're in a mess is what is going on. And it's because their ex sees them as unreasonable and they just give up, basically. They are not going to reach out in the majority of cases and say, I messed up, I want you back. When they do, it's terrific. And it's when no contact really, really impacts them. But most of the time, just like you would do with a normal conversation, you start with small talk. You kind of see if this person is reasonable. You see if they will respond. You do that before you try something huge like, will you take me back? That's just normal. Think about your own self. When you start a conversation, is it the most intense thing you wanted to talk about? Or is it, so how have you been? What's going on? Or, hi. You see how it's simple and that doesn't make them evil. It doesn't mean they haven't learned their lesson. It means they're checking to see if you're reasonable and if there's even a chance that you would take them back. They're building up to it. Give them a chance to do that. Be patient and mature enough to do that rather than ignore them until they give you a profound message begging for you back. And again, I'm speaking to people who want their ex back. Sometimes people will comment on my videos on YouTube and they'll say, why would I do that? Why would I want her back? Or why would I want him back? If that's you, that's great. Then you don't need to be watching this video. And it doesn't make sense for you to do anything but to ignore them and get away from them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a situation where you want to give it another chance. You think that maybe there was confusion, that the breakup was unnecessary. Maybe it's your fault. Maybe it's their fault. It's usually a combination. And you just want to see if things can work out because sometimes people get confused. Some of the greatest relationships that I know had times when both of them thought they would not be together. Or one of them thought they didn't want to be with this other person. People make mistakes. And sometimes people make big mistakes. And sometimes they figure it out. And when you have someone who wants to be with you after they thought they didn't, and they learn from that, that's incredible potential for a long-term happy relationship because they have learned. And I can't tell you how wonderful that situation can be. So maybe you don't give up. You don't have to make any final decision right now. But for the moment, consider that your ex won't change without these things. And the real question is, are you willing to allow the time to pass? Are you willing to wait? And I don't mean that you put your life on hold forever, but you take a break for a few months just to see if the dust clears and this can work out. You need that for healing anyway. And it's important that you continue with this information by watching the next video here, which is called Substages Your Ex Goes Through During No Contact. And it will be in the end screen here, and you can click it and you can watch it and continue learning more about what your ex goes through and what they need to go through in order for you to get them back.